Hello, 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 and welcome to the Kevin Ross Emery Show with.
Wrong side with Ashley Olstein. There you go. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. You have to check out my new shirt. Look at
Oh, I
that.
love it. Pride
Isn't that
Trek.
cool?
That's awesome.
I've been doing a Pride Month message every day on my, my Facebook, my Instagram. Then it pops over to my TikTok, and so that means that I have to have 30 different Pride shirts to do 30 different days of Pride. So it gave me an excuse to go shopping. Any excuse will do. Uh, and check it out. The hat says, oh, you're not seeing it, sidewithlove.org. And that's the front of it.
Oh, love it. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's an organization that's associated with Unitarian Universalism. So I want us all out there to give a big, oh, we're so sorry, Ashley, when we were having almost 100-degree weather here and sweating our cojones off, that you were stuck in Iceland.
I was cold.
Oh, still my heart.
It was delicious coldness. It was great. I loved it. So good. Just layer up. So it was really nice.
So, what was your favorite part of Iceland? I want to go to Iceland. It's on my list that I want to go to. I have not made it to Iceland.
Yeah.
But go.
I would strongly recommend that you keep it at the top of your list. And I'm like, I could be a salesperson for it now. It is stunning. Just driving around is breathtaking. But a couple of highlights. We went into a volcano and we were in the actual volcanic chamber, which was crazy and beautiful. It looked like it was painted, all the beautiful colors. And I will put some pictures on my website eventually once I finish doing the laundry from unpacking.
Right.
And the other highlight was some waterfalls. My favorite was Skoga Falls. I couldn't pronounce anything the whole time I was there. It was just like the Swedish chef on the Muppets. It was just like darn. But Skoga Falls was stunning. A big hike. Lots of hiking, lots of outdoor time. Just an idyllic, magical place.
Oh, you're making me jealous. You're making me
Yeah.
jealous.
I know.
Yeah. So let me see. Since I've relaunched my show and you've joined me as my partner in crime, you've been to Portugal, you've been to Iceland. I mean, like, when are you taking me? I mean, we can shoot a show. I used to shoot when I was over in England for a while, because I was over there for like 4.5 months. I did my weekly radio show from England every week, and I was interviewing local people from England and Wales and stuff. Because I can't go 4 months without putting a show out. I might have withdrawal.
Well, I'm going back to the Azores and likely the UK in September. So join me.
Okay.
Join me. Come with.
So how many shows am I gonna have to replace you on?
We'll talk about it later. I don't know what I'm in a program in both places, so I can't have a conflict with the program. But if it's not conflicted, I would be happy to stream from abroad.
Well, look at it this way. Some people could say that every week you stream from abroad. So,
terrible.
Tell me before I jump into the astrology and then we get today's guest on. Tell me, like, anything else. What else is exciting, or is Iceland your big excitement for the week or the 2 weeks?
For 2 weeks. Geez, everything that's popping into my mind is old news, so not worth chatting about. But I've got a angelic Reiki course that I'm taking coming up, so I'll be able to teach that. There's really nobody on the East Coast right now that's doing that, so that'll be fun. Yeah, that's about. I haven't really, as I said, I'm doing reentry, jet lagged. I got in late last night, up to here with laundry. Tomorrow I'll have a better line of sight. How about you? What do you have coming up?
Well, we've got a sip on June 21st. I think it's June 21st. I should check.
No,
Nope.
today's June 27th. So
No, what is it? July 21st, maybe? No, I don't know. I've got a sip coming up. You can go to the New Hampshire Metaphysical Facebook page, NH Metaphysical. I have a sip coming up. I'm a bad promoter. I didn't look up the date and put a banner up for it. Maybe I'll do that as you're talking to today's guest, is find out the actual information. And it's called On What is Indigeneity? What is indigeneity? And we have three of us. There were three people on the panel, and I'm hosting it. And we have, and one of them, interestingly enough, so that's our July one. So it could be July 21st. Maybe that's why I'm thinking of the 21st.
I'll look while you're talking.
We're doing animal communications, but one of our animal communicators wanted to do the what is indigeneity from the perspective of the animals.
Oh, I love it.
Which I am I just think it's fabulous. You know what? I'm still waiting because we invited Stacy.
Oh.
But somehow I reached out to her and I said, how come I don't see you on the panel? And she's like, I didn't get invited. So I'm trying to meld that together because the animal communication panel isn't until August. And I actually had saved a spot for her because she said she would be interested, but somewhere it hasn't, the gods have given us a raspberry and not let those communications go through.
By the way, yes, Sunday, July 21st at 6 p.m. Eastern time is the next sip. And I'm not going to try and say it. Indigeneity.
Indigeneity. You have no idea how much I had to practice to say that. And we have a BIPOC person with indigenous spiritual roots from another part of the world that's going to be on the panel. I'm going to be talking about it from a soul perspective, actually. We're coming at it from a lot of different ways. And then I think the one after that is spiritual DNA in September, which I'm still assembled the panel for. But you're probably going to be in the Azores in England when it goes on, because when I put out an opportunity for you to do something, I think that your first call's to the travel agent. Where can you book me?
Unfortunately, September 15th, I will be in Portugal. I leave on the 13th as it's booked right now.
I called it.
Sorry. So
we didn't do a show last week because you were in Iceland, and I actually had a speaking engagement where I spoke to about 50 young professionals on public speaking and networking. I was asked to come in and give them some insight and guidance and about doing networking, doing stuff like this. And it went really well. It was very interesting. There was a couple of people there who were with like a group, and they really weren't young professionals, but the organization, I mean, like they did it at the Kettlehead Brewery on Main Street. So really anybody could have come and sat down if they wanted to. There was no fee for it or stuff like this. It's an event associated with the Chamber of Commerce. But I could see this one person who was laughing when I said, this is about collaboration, and that, if you look at that, like the chamber can function like a community and you can build, and I could see them kind of being like, yeah, that's it, that they were definitely in the old competitive sales model mentality, I could tell. So I stared him right down and gave him a big old big smile.
Perfect.
Causing trouble as always. Outside of that, I'm not heavy on events because I'm heavy on getting the rest of my kitchen packed up and figuring out where it's going to get moved and finishing getting my office in the basement. And July 22nd is the let's rip the roof off the kitchen day and give me 8 to 10 weeks of no kitchen and no office and no peace of mind.
It will definitely be an exercise in patience. I think that's going to be a good challenge for you. I have a nice guest room.
Down for a break, just to like,
Yeah.
Ash, I just need to get out. We're boarding our kids for the whole time. Our kids, for those of you who don't know it, are two cats from the same litter, Freya and Morgana, who no longer can visit the radio show because we don't allow them in the basement. So they've not been on air for a while now. I get complaints after every show. How come we're not being featured? But they're going to stay with Grandpa, who's going to take them for all of the major construction, so that we're not driving them crazy. But we're not. So we didn't do a show last week because I had a speaking engagement. You were in Iceland. We're not doing one next week because I don't work on my birthday.
Birthday.
4th of July. And so with all these moving pieces, I got a lot of under the surface stuff going on in my business, more than you even know about right now. So there's some changes and big things happening and stuff like that. But we'll catch up. We'll catch up if you stay in the same time zone with me long enough.
You're stuck with me for a little while. Months, in fact.
It's never stuck. It's always graced.
Darn tootin'.
Okay, so I'm going to go over some quick things here. I'm not going to spend as much time as I normally do on astrology. We did a big catch up, and we want to get our guest on air while she's still awake. So we are, Sun is in Cancer. We didn't get a chance to talk about it a whole lot because this has been kind of an odd last couple of weeks and stuff like that when things moving around. Last week we missed a full moon in Capricorn. Nothing we can do about it now. We do have a new moon in Cancer coming up July 5th. Remember, when you have a new moon, it's a great time to make plans in the area of your life where that new moon is. First of all, because that's where it's going to affect. For you, Ashley, it is in your 10th house of career. So that is going to be a place where you can have some forward movement energy, and that would be the 4th, 5th, and 6th. I always look at it as a new moon, a full moon, as 3 days of energy that you can call upon to kind of make plans and things. And in about 6 months, when we have a full moon in Cancer in January, we will see how that has come to fruition. And part of it is, the commitment you make to it, the energy, do you really set a goal and, have it show up? I mean, like, are you putting the energy into the goal to make it happen? The other thing is we have Mercury entering Leo on July 2nd. That is in your 11th house. So it's in your house of organizations, friends, hopes, wishes. And when Mercury enters Leo, if you have a dramatic bone in your body, it's going to show up. You're going to be more likely to want to be chatty. When it's in Cancer, you're kind of nurturing and caring, and you want to say things and, try to be more whatever caretaking energy you have. When it's in Leo, you're kind of like, here comes the sun, here comes the sun. Because that's the sign that is associated with Leo, that Mercury gets there, preparing us for the sun to go into Leo, which we'll do later in the month, but Mercury gets there first, which means there will be more dramatic, creative, and you have to be careful, sometimes very self-centered communication. But it's a good time for artists and things like that. Again, it depends on where it lands. We told you where it lands for you. And so we do want to mention that last week when we didn't have a show and stuff like this, we have Saturn in retrograde, and it's going to be in retrograde for a while. Saturn is our teacher planet. It is retrograde in Pisces. It is going back to kind of get you to figure out what are the lessons you need to learn, the things you need to do. This retrograde is going to be in your 6th and 7th house, where you have lots of stuff. So this Saturn is just going forward, running over your Mercury, your North Node, your Sun. It's going to run over your Venus and your Chiron, and then it's going to go in reverse, and it's going to back over them again, and it's going to go forward, and it's going to say, I want to teach you some lessons. I want to teach you some lessons. I want you to create some structure and some formation, and learn from why you have these planets in this particular case in these houses doing these things. And so this is going to be a time of high energy for making change, going through, really trying to do stuff. And because you got that Chiron right at the end, it's going to be a place where there's going to be a lot of energy to try to heal some wounds so they're no longer holding you back. And those wounds for you are in the area of partnerships. Partnerships. That can be familial partnerships. It can be friends. It can be spouses. It can be business partners. It could be you and I. I could be a wound you've been trying to heal, like a rash. And so, but this is what that energy is going to be like. It went in last week, and it's going to be going through those degrees. I know you have the chart I did for you this year, because every year she, does do a chart for me. If you don't have a chart, if you would like a chart done at some point, so that this applies to you and you understand what all this means, this weekly stuff we do, you can always email me and we can do all of your charts, your progressed, your solar return, and your birth chart. So that's going on, especially for you, because of the 2 houses it's in and the number of planets it affects. You should be having some notes that this is a time for you. A couple of other things I want to go over quickly is we also have that next Wednesday, we are going to have Venus trining Saturn. So it's trining at retrograde, and Venus is about harmony, and it's about our sense of values and beauty. It's a lesser benefic. Trine means that the 2 energies are feeding into each other. It's kind of like that friend that you get together with and you create a little bit of synergy. It's not, like if you are conjunct, you're creating a lot of synergy. You're powering it up. In this case, this trine is coming in, and it's kind of saying, okay, this is a good time if you've been looking to make some changes in those areas. If you're looking to make some changes in kind of your values or even your possessions, like your stuff, where you want to do it. And so it's trining Cancer to Pisces. So it's going to be a lot of emotional support to kind of do stuff. The last thing I'm going to talk about, we also have Neptune going. So 2 more things. Neptune on July 1st goes retrograde. Neptune, this is our planet that is going to help you get rid of illusions, help you break out into a clearer view of who you are and what you're here to do in the world. It can also, because it's retrograde, means you have to be careful that addictions don't show up. This is the time when it may be struggling to not go back to something that was some kind of addiction for you. It doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. It could be, soap operas and cigarettes, whatever. There's going to be that struggle where, the universe abhors a void.
Mm-hmm.
And so often, in fact, I was just saying that to one of my clients this week, we go to these things to, quote unquote, help us with an addiction, any of the 12-step programs. But if you don't get down to why the addiction happens, what is the addiction actually, why is it a survival method? What's it doing for you? What's it doing? What value does the addiction provide? Then you will just put another addiction in.
Yeah.
And so this is a time when, with that in retrograde, and this Neptune in retrograde is going to be in your 6th and 7th house, Ashley.
He's Louise.
Why not? The last thing is we're going to have Venus July 6th, because I'm doing 2 weeks here. Again, because we're not on next week, is going to be squaring Chiron. Oh, yeah. So we're going to be squaring Chiron. And the next thing is not happening yet. Okay. I'm just checking to making sure I'm not forgetting anything. Don't worry to our guests. This is running a little long, but we're going to give you extra time at the end. Don't worry. We'll make sure you have your time on air. We want to make sure we promote you and what you do. Oh, so the sun on July 2nd is going to square the North Node. For this, for you, this is 10th house stuff, career stuff, and it's going to be squaring it with your 6th house, which is, you know, 6th house is kind of how we want to serve the world. I see it in this particular case. There's a lot of things in the 6th. There's a lot of stuff in every house. But this is going to be, how do I go from being the worker bee to queen bee? Worker bee, queen bee, worker bee, queen bee. And this square is telling me, because it's a square, is this struggle is within you. The world isn't saying, no, 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 you cannot be queen bee, you must be worker bee, but something in your inner dialogue, your inner stuff is saying, you know, well, you know, maybe I can be queen for a day and worker bee for the other 364. And this struggle will be there for a couple of days as you are, and it comes right in that 3 days of the new moon in Cancer. So this would be a really good time for you to get clear and make some commitments and do some visioning work, some manifesting work, to do stuff forward, to kind of shift that energy, because that energy will be up with that incoming square. With that, you know, square of your North Node, and it actually happens just before your new moon, gives you clarity. Then you have a square in Chiron, which is your wound, the wounded healer. It's a Venus Chiron square. That Venus Chiron square is going to bring up issues of, do I deserve? Do I deserve what it is that I am asking for? Do I deserve the support? Do I deserve the recognition? Do I deserve? So that's going to be happening July 6th. I've gone through this fast and furious. I'm going to let you introduce tonight's guest. Oh, good. She's still awake. She didn't leave. She didn't dive out. And Ashley, you're up.
Well, today we have Johanna I wasn't going to butcher her last name, Derbolowsky, and I just butchered it. But Johanna is a natural-born clairvoyant, a global speaker, and a best-selling author. Her passion lies in guiding business leaders and individuals toward a continuously more fulfilling and successful life. So let me bring her on. Johanna, come on in. How are you? Sorry I butchered your last name. I did it right the first time.
Yeah, you did it so well before.
I know. I'm sorry. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm great, and thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here. So now you mentioned you're in the LA area.
Yeah, I live in Los Angeles, or Manhattan Beach, exactly.
Oh, lovely. Very nice.
I like the beach, so I have a slight addiction there.
That's a good addiction to have. Speaking of addictions, the ones that Kevin was talking about.
I will fully live this one out during the addiction time.
I love it. And you've got a couple of published books. So the two that I have listed are The Transformation Promise, and then 28 Days to Love, Joy, and Prosperity, which is a workbook.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the 28 days is a workbook because, we want everything instantaneously. And although that is possible, it helps to put in the work of the daily muscle exercise to stabilize whatever it is that you want to achieve. So that pretty much sums up that book. It's the coach or trainer that's behind you, so you don't let go on your muscles of where you actually want to go to. And the other one is
Can I ask a question about that book first?
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm very curious. I love love, joy, and prosperity. What made you choose 28 days? I mean, what's the thought process? Because I have people say sometimes, some people tell me I have to do something for 30 days or 31 days or for a new moon cycle, blah, 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 blah. What was your thought process that in 28 days you would have all the love, joy, and prosperity you could ever handle?
Well, I'm also, hypnotherapist. So in hypnosis, you say it takes 21 days to change a habit. However, I think we could use an extra week to stabilize that. So that was the original thought. And then, 28, that adds up to a 9. I thought that all worked out well for me in terms of numbers.
28.
That's new. Doesn't that make a
30.
1?
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought you said 9.
Yeah, I said 9, but I meant 1.
I'm so confused. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, and I thought that's a good number for a new beginning. So
it really is. What a nice way to think about it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna, because I was talking, the astrology stuff as you were off air listening. 28 days is a moon cycle, and so I was really fascinated because there was a little part of me that thought, well, yeah, that's pretty cool, because if you started the workbook on the new moon, you'd go through the whole cycle, you'd hit you'd hit the moon in every sign, and it would come back up to a new moon, and so I mean, well, actually, you wouldn't hit every sign, but that the new moon, the quarter moon, the full moon, the quarter, yeah. So I in my head, that's where I went, but that's why I wanted to ask.
That sounds fantastic. I like it.
Yeah. You're welcome to add that in. It's also a full moon cycle. So
yeah, I'll add that in. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, and it gives you, like, here we are at the new moon, and then you have the waxing moon, and there's a point there where it would be perfect for a check-in, and then there's a full moon, which is another check-in, and a waning moon, which is another check-in, and then you're off to the new cycle. So I don't know. Anyways,
yeah, which is probably exactly how it's working in the book too, because it's very repetitive, just like sit-ups. If you want.
Like that.
So, and then it adds a little more every time, and little switches like every few days to make it more interesting. But also, I mean, I think repetition is very important when you're trying to change something in your daily life.
I would agree. I think that gives you muscle memory for sure, so that it becomes more of part of who you are rather than something you're like trying to remember.
Yeah, and you become more focused. And there's a section in there where you have to write what you like about people on that day, what you like about the people you interacted with. And I think one of the really nice things is that I've heard from people, and I've noticed when I was doing it myself, that after a while you think about, oh my God, I have to write that tonight. So let me just see what I like about people all day. So I have something to put in the evening exercise, and it shifts your focus that way to really look for things that support where you want to go.
I do a lot of walking because I do a lot of clients on the phone. So, I can be walking around sometimes 8, 10, 12 miles in a day on the phone working with my client. But I like to walk if I'm going to meetings or going to something and I'm not on the phone. I like to walk because I can walk right into the downtown of the city I live into. And I like to see how many people I can smile and look at the eyes and see how many of them will say hello back, how many avoid it, how many, I keep this little game in my head. Oh, today was a really good day because out of the 6 people or 8 people I saw, this many said hello back, this many looked the other way. And of course, I'm wearing a lot of pride clothes this month. So some people aren't going to say it because they're just homophobic, and that's their problem. But the coolest thing happened. I was walking down and saying hello to people, and this little girl was probably about 12 or 13, was coming up behind her dad. So her dad couldn't see her behind her. And she looked at all my pride stuff and she waved and smiled, but not so her dad could see her. And so I said hello to her. And then the dad kind of looked at me, and the dad was like, "Oh, hi, how, like he was very pleasant and everything." But I thought, "Oh, she's doing it behind his back."
Well, it's a lot of cool colors for,
Yeah.
especially little girls. So,
Um,
yeah, I mean, that's that book. But the other one is really much more of a, if you want to change your life, how you go about it. And it came out of years of teaching. And I know we have that in common, teaching psychic development and teaching people to change things in their life. And also when you work with clients doing readings, a lot of them, well, there's a lot of feeling sorry for myself. We're really good at that. It's like a human specialty. And as soon as you can sort of get out of that, you can actually make changes. So the transformation promise is about getting to know yourself on a much deeper level. And so once you really get to know yourself on a deep level, and you know what is holding you back and what is actually hindering you from going where you're going, then you can change that. And it's not that difficult. If you have an invisible enemy holding you back, it's much harder than if you know who the enemy is.
Yes, know thy enemy. Very cool.
So, and yeah.
I was going to say, talk to me a little bit more. And so I just want to, for our guest, I'm going to take that off for a second. I want to put up her website. I mean, if you want to reach out to Johanna, obviously, I take it you offer a multitude of services. You're talking about readings. I mean, on top of the book, you offer a multitude of services, correct?
Yeah.
So you can go to quantumheartfield.com to see what services Johanna offers. I'm sure you can also find her books there, or a link to
buy books, contact, everything.
So I just wanted to point that out because we didn't mention the kind of the services you offer. These are some other places to find you, Johanna. So the transformation promise, can you language to me what the promise is? I was very curious about that.
Well, I think that's a given because you have transformation is always going to happen. We can't stay the same. So change and transformation are a given. So, but people think of it like, oh, this is this big thing coming, the transformation. And well, it happens. You from moment to moment, never the same person. And so I called it the transformation promise because I can promise you that things will not stay the same.
That's no matter what.
I'm gonna see what questions you have in a second. Ashley, I find that fascinating because you said it's obvious, which means obviously I'm an idiot because I didn't go there. I heard the transformation promise and I went, oh, this is me promising to embrace my transformation.
That's the same thing.
Promising, to find my authentic self. And that's why I was curious because I'm with you. I mean, like we're right in alignment with change is going to happen whether you want it or not. So fight it ain't going to get you nowhere. It still comes. So I think that's great. Ashley, questions or thoughts you'd like to share with Johanna?
Well, I want to hear more. I know that your website is the Quantum Heart Field, and I saw in your bio that you're the developer of the Quantum Heart Field experience. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what that means and what it is.
I love the whole idea of quantum physics, and I've always loved the idea of quantum physics because it makes a lot of sense to me. So as in transformation too, we can take that to another level. If we go to the quantum level of ourselves, then we're just moving particles. And for those of you who watched Star Trek at some point in their lives, although we're getting kind of old, there is the beam me up, Scotty. And I always, found that really fascinating that he can just pixelize and then come back together at another planet environment or whatever and be a different person. So that idea I found fascinating, and the idea that from physics, in high school we had to learn that the whole weight of a big container ship would fit into a matchbox if you can eliminate the space out of the atoms. And that, I thought that was really cool, to have a matchbox the weight of a container ship. It's impressive to me. So with that, I've been interested, what is happening in what is that space, and who are we really, and what is moving in that space, and how can we, I was also a chemistry major, go from one state to another. So all that came together, and then I studied some of the, I studied matrix energetics with Richard Bartlett, which was really fun. And so in learning that, you can actually if you step out of your mind, everything is possible because nothing is holding it. So if we don't observe it, it's not there. So that whole concept says, okay, so if we can let go of the mind for just a split second, everything can shift and change. So that's a big thing, I think. So it's a big opportunity, possibility, amazing, wonderful new way of doing things, and you can step into different realities that way.
So, and I know that you've been using parts of that with helping business development. Is that correct? You've been helping professionals kind of step out of their brain and step more into their intuition.
Yeah, so that's kind of really the fun part. I really enjoy what I'm doing. So when we have a problem or when our business is not going well, we're sitting over the books and we're like, oh my God, what am I going to do here? We get deeper and deeper into the rigid manifestation of the observed. And Einstein said, one of my favorite sentences from childhood too was, no problem can be solved by the consciousness that created it. So in order to solve any problem, we have to step into a different consciousness. And to me, it just came naturally if I let go of my, always like busy thinking monkey brain. And I just dropped that into my heart field and let go for that moment. Then all of a sudden, solutions can appear, everything can change, everything can happen. And it's surprising how well that works with everybody. So when I worked with business people and they're stuck and they don't know what to do and they're really upset, and you get them to step into just letting it go for a moment, and then you bring them back, a lot of times they have the solution immediately with them. So that's one way. And the other way is if they want to start a business, go somewhere with it. We have so much stuff attached to us. It's like we are dragging behind us sort of all the cans like a just married vehicle. But we walk through life like that. The behind the car is like these noisy cans that all want something from us. And they want everybody else to see how miserable we are. I mean, in the wedding case, it's not misery, but so so we have attachments, we have our family, we have our rent, we have what we do, we have what the neighbors think, we have how are we going to retire. All these things we're dragging with us all the time, and they're actually weighing us down, and they're pulling us back, and they're holding us back. And now we said, okay, we want to have a different experience in life, and we start going that way with all that baggage. Well, it's going to be a slow and hard way to do it. But if we can just try it out, just step into that other reality where that's actually working out, at that moment we let it go. And if we manage to let it go and step into this new reality, which to me is like going into the heart field and having that experience, then you already have created the possibility of that becoming a reality in your life. And once you have that set up there in your monkey brain that you now have that possibility, a lot of the cans already starting to loosening up and falling away. And of course, then comes that moment of fear, generally, because if you step from one place into an unknown place, you go like, oh, where's my shit? Where's my misery?
Yeah.
I want it back. I was used to it. I know how to live and complain. I don't know how to tell everybody, oh, I'm doing fantastic, which is really interesting, because if you start telling people every day that ask you, oh, how are you? And you say, oh, I'm doing fantastic, they can't even grasp that. You can try that. They're just like, what's
Kevin,
wrong
I
with
think
you?
you say that all the time. Every time you ask, how are you, there's a positive response.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It's a really refreshing loveliness.
It's also the end of the conversation, because nobody asks you why you're fantastic. They all ask you, why are you miserable? But nobody asks you, oh, really? What are you doing? Why are you fantastic? Why are you doing fantastic?
It's interesting, because in places I go repeatedly, my big thing is I don't say fantastic. Sometimes I say fantastic. You don't say fabulous. I mean,
Fabulous. Yeah.
they're like, how are you? And I'll be like, I'm fabulous. It's a place to start, but I'm working on getting better. What do you think? And and some people go like, well, that's pretty good, or blah blah. But places that I go to, and I say that the second or third time, I'll have cashiers or bank tellers or people say to me like, let me guess, fabulous, or so you're fabulous. But then they actually start to engage and want to know why I'm fabulous, because they want to be fabulous, because it's a repeated experience for them. I don't know if you've had that experience, but I know I have.
Well, yeah, sometimes they go and they say, yes, I want what you have. But I think in the most part, people just look at you like, huh? More in the way like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you, like I feel today? Or what am I going to say now?
Yeah.
So,
I have a question about, sorry, go ahead. I can come back to it.
No, I just, the other big point is that when you move from point A to point B, you have to let go of point A to get to point B. And so when working with businesses, sometimes people are not ready to let go of point A, and then you have to, do a little bit more baby steps first. So they're not ready to do a big shift, which to me is the more fun than the baby steps. But it's scary. It's scary if you decide to do something else and then your life, as you know, it just falls apart immediately, because you've made that decision to be in this other reality. But,
well, you had a question, Ashley, so go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't help but think about like manifestation as you were talking about, creating this alternate possibility, and then it becomes like part of your Rolodex of, oh, this could be my reality. So do you ever think of it in terms of like manifestation, or is that totally separate from the way it feels to you?
No, I think manifestation is the same thing. Manifestation is I think it's very difficult to do if but it also gets you there. But when people think like, oh, if I just think this is going to happen, in my experience, it doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to really, be ready to let go of attachments. Also, if you want to manifest something new, you have to let go of the attachments of the old.
And Kevin, you said it earlier, the universe hates a vacuum. So once you let go of something, you're creating the space for something new to step in. But it's that, I as you were talking, I was picturing in the playground, the bars that you swing from one to the other. And, you're still holding on to one before you get the other one. But if you let go, you're opening up that space
Yeah, I mean, you need to let go to jump to the next one.
Yeah. And that's, as humans, that's tough. But
Yeah,
that's the
but
challenge.
it's also fun and exciting.
Oh, totally.
It's fun and exciting to do something new. And for me, it was, I have a very active mind that can get into like self-doubt and not being able to make a decision and all that. If I start thinking about it, I'll think about like, oh my God, is this the right thing? Blah, blah. And it just goes down that rabbit hole of, so I try to actually do everything before I start thinking. And sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't matter because then there's always the next thing to grasp.
Right.
Well, so I'm curious a little bit about the process, because I'm trying to um, envision, is this more talk, is it more hypnosis, is it more energy work, is there a place where the three are crossing? Because I'm sure somebody doesn't come to you and you go, okay, empty your mind, 5 4 3 2 1, okay, what's there now? I have a funny feeling that probably wouldn't like quite cut it. So can you explain a little bit more of the process if one of our viewers wanted to reach out and say, hey, I'd like a session? And do you do sessions remote? I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Like you, I only work remote. I create for them 2 spaces. So 2 different spaces in the room that they're in, and they can step from where they are now onto like the magic carpet of where they want to be, and actually try it out and feel the difference. So and I, to make a decision, or you can do, a coin toss too, is a good decision maker because you're inside of yourself, where you want to go. And so you create that space for the person to step into. It has nothing to do with hypnosis. I do that too. I love past life regressions because it's entertaining for me. And it's also not energy work. It's just stepping into a different reality. So I set up 2 spaces, or they set up 2 spaces. I make them create the 2 spaces, the one they're in right now, and then, a couple of steps away, the one where they want to be, or where they think they want to be. And then what happens is they step into that space, and 90% of the time, they don't want to go back. They just love that new reality. And I just allow them to just let things shift, and then their mind automatically goes away. So, and you only need a split second, a nanosecond for things to shift. It's not like a long process. But sometimes also people say like, oh, well, that's not actually what I want. And so they go back to the drawing board and see like, this didn't feel right. Maybe I've been working on getting this business off the ground and it's not working, but I really want it to work. And then they step into it. It doesn't feel right. And they decide, oh, I've been, going in the wrong direction. It's not that wise to push against the universe. It's better to run with it.
I have my
yeah.
What were you saying?
I have my bruises. I've gone up and decided I was going to do things my way. I have my bruises. I think sometimes you got to actually get up and figure it out. So people can contact you, schedule these sessions. You do them over Zoom or phone or something like that.
Yeah, I do them over the phone because I don't want my opinionated mind in the way. You see somebody, you already have something that you know about them. So when I'm do it over the phone, I have nothing, and I go entirely by spirit.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a big phone person. So tell us what kind of events before we give you the freedom to go hang out at the beach for the rest of the day. Do you have any events coming up? Anything that you would like our viewers to know?
I don't have any event coming up right now, but I am starting a new business. It's called Quantum Strategy Coaching with my partner, Matt Muller, who's an innovator. And that's geared for small business people to really help them stay in with the times and move with the rapidly changing environment. And it's exciting, and we're excited about that. And other than that, I am just doing my private practice and helping people as they come along. I get, also people after high school that are deciding what to do in college. That's kind of a fun group.
I had thought of something a little earlier that I was curious about before we shift. But do you find that a lot of people don't know what they want?
Yeah, that does actually happen. People have sort of an idea of what they want, or they want money, but money is so meaningless. It's like, what do you want to do with it once you have it? Like, at least give me that. Not like, it's like saying I want toilet paper. It doesn't in itself do anything.
Right.
So, but with the business people, usually have people that kind of have an idea where they want to go, but they may not know where they want to go, or they may also think that, oh, I can't pull it off.
Yep.
And, we can pull it off. I mean, whatever we want to do, we can usually pull it off.
I think this is where there are two things that come to mind. One is, the two faces of faith, and to pull it off, what my experience has taught me is you have to have the faith in you and the faith in something greater than you, and that they're both on your side, or you don't actually, you can't quite put it into practice. You can't, there's that nonstop yeah, but that happens. And so I just wanted to share that, as you were talking, I'm going, yeah. And as far as people not knowing what they want to do, sometimes it's because they have to rip away the layers of what everybody else wanted them to do, that somewhere along the way they confused with what they wanted to do. And those layers have to get ripped away before you can, it's like taking off the stuff on the floor to find out, hey, under this cheap gaudy linoleum was actually really good hardwood floors.
Yeah.
I gotta get to the real deal. Johanna, thank you.
Yeah.
It's 28 days to love, joy, and prosperity. And that's a workbook. I'm a big fan of workbooks. So
me too.
Kind of structure and guide to work through it. And and we all know she created it because it, mimics the moon cycle.
Intuitively.
Yep, absolutely. She also has the Transformation Promise. That's her second book. This can all be found at the quantumheartfield.com. And keep us in the loop. If you get a new book out or you got some new stuff going on, reach back out. Maybe if you would be open to it, if you come back, maybe we would say, could you do a little bit of what you do on either Ashley and I for people to see?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
We didn't know what to ask this time, but when people come back and they have something they do that's very unique or special, it's like, okay, do it on me, do it on Ashley, let people get a little look at it, because sometimes that can make people more like hungry to want to try it, where it's less abstract. But we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
So nice to meet you, Johanna, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah. Me too. Thank you.
Stay in touch.
Take care. Hello.
We have about 5 minutes to wrap up. Any thoughts you want to share about tonight's guest?
I thought she was very interesting. I am curious about the workbook for sure. And and the Transformation Promise. It all makes sense. It's all, falls in line with all of the things that we do.
Yeah. I'm a big visioner, so I kind of wanted to get a little bit better vision of the process. It wasn't quite registering in my head, which isn't either a positive or negative. It just wasn't. I was like, I'm trying to wrap my head around it, which is why I said if she ever wants to come back and do the
Right.
process on
Yeah.
you or me, people like me out there, you know, that kind of have my way of looking at the world might be like, but I don't still quite understand. I mean, it sounded like, oh, well, you're standing here, think of who you are. Now stand over here, think of who you want to be. And maybe it's that simple. And maybe I'm trying to complicate it. And then again, you know, I started studying metaphysical stuff in the 70s. So there's a lot of stuff that goes by. And so, I mean, she's got great energy.
Yep.
I love the books. I have no doubt she does great work. But I just didn't get enough of it in my head yet. And maybe it's just me. I mean, I don't know. I do have to say, what I did think of at one point is I was like, it almost sounds like when she's talking about like the things behind the car, the cans.
Yeah.
Like, this is the love child between the elephant that's stuck to the pole, and then when you take off the chain, they can't move away from the pole because they're so trained. And Marley's chains. She kept on saying chains, and I go going, no, Marley's chains, because they were the chains that Marley forged through that whole, you know, that he took into death that held him back. Because, you know, a lot of people going, I want to let go of the cans that are tied to my wedding. Well, if you're divorced, you sure as hell do. But if you like to make the thing work, it might be like, no, those are kind of my cans. They got me married. So, but, you know, again, we all know I have a weird mind.
No.
But I mean, does it make sense when I go with the love child between the elephant pole and the Marley's chains?
I can follow you. I thought it was a good way of thinking about it. In fact, I'm going to be like dragging my cans when we hang up, dragging my cans down to the kitchen making dinner. You know, it's that kind of thing. So I'll be thinking about that for a while. I liked that parallel.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to be adding Marley and the elephant. All of them are going to come with me to cook in the kitchen. So thanks for that.
Hey, you know, I got live to serve. And I just realized we actually had, oh, okay. Johanna just said, oh, I will come back. She actually commented.
Oh, yay.
And Matthew Muller said, such a powerful exercise. I was not paying as much attention as I should to comments. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, you know, Johanna, we're certainly open to having you back. And you know, again, I have no question, no doubt, she does good work. Remember that next week we are going to have a replay because we are all taking off. I don't know. There's some holiday involved, but it's my birthday, so we all know that that's why we're taking it off.
Kevin Ross Emery Day or 4th of July. Independence Day. I have independence from Kevin Ross energy. I have independence from you for a day.
You get free from me for a day. The week after that, July 11th, we're going to have Matt Connerton on. We usually have him on the first Thursday of the month. He's going to be there. We're having a big presidential debate tonight. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of fallout, so I am looking to bring Matt in and from the perspective of the non-aligned pundit who tries to do their best to look at both sides and present it. Are you going to be joining me on that show, Ashley?
I would love to join as a fly on the wall, like watching tennis.
Okay.
So, but I will be here. I will be here with, I was going to say with bells on, but probably no bells.
Okay. So everybody have a great 4th of July. Celebrate my birthday. Send the presents to, oh, no, sorry. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right. See you then. Take care. Bye.